Hey, what's up? This is Nick from zappycode.com, and this is the tutorial teaching you how to get started with borrowing and lending on Solana. Now, if you don't know what Solana is, I really recommend going and checking out my last tutorial where I gave an introduction to Solana. And not only that, I told you how to set up a wallet, told you how to create your own token and even your own NFT. It's pretty simple here on Solana. As you can see in my browser, I've got a wallet that we set up from last time. So if you're new to Solana, I would go check that out. These are the different tokens that we created there. That's my NFT right there. Pretty cool. So just very quickly, Solana is a cryptocurrency. It's a blockchain. I think the best way to describe it is it's trying to be a fast version of Ethereum. Here you can see on the Solana website, it's showing how quickly their blocks are happening. And also they aim to have very low transaction fees. So currently, this is very true. You can see this last block happened in less than a second. And we're talking a 2% of a penny for every transaction. That's pretty solid. So like I said, Solana aims to be a faster and better version of Ethereum, and Ethereum right now has a really robust DeFi ecosystem, which DeFi, decentralized finance, it has all these different things set up so that people can be borrowing and lending money from each other. They can do swaps where you're basically trading coins with each other. There's tons of things that people have built out there, and Solana is trying to get that moving on their blockchain. And so they have created sort of some starting blocks for people to check out. And so we're going to be looking at their thing called Oyster lending. And this is basically to help you get set up to, loan and borrow Solana from people. And I believe with Solana in this trading, this lending thing, that you're able to do not just the SOL token SOL, but you're able to do it with other types of tokens that have been wrapped into the Solana blockchain or native Solana currencies like the one that we created last time. But to go ahead and take a look at this, just go ahead and Google Oyster lending. There's not a whole lot out there. And to be honest, this is kind of, like I said, Solana's trying to get this up and off the ground, and there's not a lot to go off of. So I'm hoping this tutorial will help you get moving. But as you see, we're going to be running into a few snags here just because how early this is. So first, the best place to go to is their GitHub page for this. So you can see it's from their developer account, Solana Labs, Oyster Lending. But there's nothing to go off of here. In the README, there's just some sort of disclaimer, and it doesn't even say what this project is. So to kind of dispel that secret, what this is it's a React app, which is essentially a website that will allow you to interface to be doing the borrowing and the lending with Solana. So the idea here is that Solana is this blockchain, and they have these smart contracts, and it's all programmable so that people can be doing this DeFi thing on top of it. But if you really just work at the core level, it's really hard to work with. So that's why we need websites so we can interact with it in a more clean way. And that's what this is here. It's essentially the code to be running your own website so that you can interact and be working with the blockchain, but it using something that you can understand, not like, just typing JSON and whatever sort of code into the Solana smart contracts, okay? So remember, ultimately what we're trying to do here is set up our own website. And the idea is that you could host your own lending website, and they even have built into here, if you host your own lending website, you can get a cut of the fees that happen anytime someone does a transaction for borrowing or lending. You get a cut of that. So it's kind of cool that if you check this out and you really like it, you can say, hey, I'm going to go set this up to be a public available thing. What we're going to be doing is showing how to run it locally just on your own computer. But to give an example of that, if we go back to the Google search results, I don't know if this is going to still be here by the time you're watching this video, but you can see there's this hosted version of the same code here. I don't know if it's the exact same version, but it looks like it's solana-labs.github.io/Oyster lending. Again, who knows if this is going to be up to date. This, from what I've played with, is not completely working, but you can see, well, this is something that you could get started with. Like you can see this is where you can deposit money. This is where you can borrow, liquidate, see past transactions, things like that. When you hit connect here, it's going to prompt you to get connected with the wallet. This unfortunately does not work with the Phantom wallet that we set up last time, so that's a little bit of a bummer there. But you know, there's these other ones. I messed around with Solana here and it seemed fine to me. It was very easy to work with. Again, if you've never worked with a wallet before, go watch that previous tutorial. The link will be in the video description, but that will give you a good idea on how to handle that. And the same principles you learned for Phantom will work for Solana, and I'm sure all these other wallets here. Ledger here, this is a hardware wallet, but anyways, to get back to what I was saying is, you know, you can see this is a publicly available website. This isn't something that we were running on our own computer. Again, if you get this running locally on your own computer and you wanted to host this and share it with the world, what's cool is if people use your website to do their borrowing and lending, you get a cut of all the little transactions. Now, it's a really tiny fee that you get from every single one of those, but you can imagine if you got something that was really popular, over time, that could really build up for you. And again, it's not like you have to stick with the interface that's here. If you can create an even better design that's easier for people to work with, you can get more people using that and hopefully more fees sent over to you. Okay, so let's go back, and since this is unfortunately isn't functional, at least I wasn't able to interact with this all, I'm going to show you how to get this set up locally on your own computer. Now, even then, I have to give you a disclaimer. I've spent the day getting this set up, and I've gotten to the point where the website will show for a second, but then there's some critical error, and I've tried about a million different things to get it to work, and I'm convinced that there's something buggy in the code here, that something is broken potentially. I've tried reaching out to Solana. Hopefully there's an update to that, and by the time you're watching this video, everything's working, that there's a new version of this code. But I'm going to assume, but by the time you're watching this, things are working, because like I said, I get almost to the finish line and that's where things stop working. And again, hopefully reaching out to the people at Solana, this will be able to get it to move forward. So step number one, we've got to download the code here. So if you're familiar with Git, you can go ahead and do a clone, or you can just hit this code button here and say download zip. I think this is the easiest way to do this. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this in my downloads, and there it is. So I'm going to open this up, and basically this is just a folder with the same code that you see right here. This is all in place. Now, again, this project here, this folder that you just downloaded, this is a React website. It's a React app. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to start this React app so that we can see what it looks like on our own computer. So in order to work with a React app, you have to have Node.js installed on your computer. So if you just go ahead and on a new tab, just Google install Node.js. This will walk you through the flow of everything that you need. So here's the Node.js website. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to download that. Download for the appropriate operating system that you have. Let's go ahead and get this installed. Okay, looking good. Let's install this. And we're all done. So now that that's finished, the real thing that we were looking for with this Node.js installation was NPM here. This is the Node Package Manager, and this is going to help us get things up and running. So now that we have this, to see if the install worked and everything's happening, and this has a good clue to us to tell us, hey, if things aren't working, you might need to add this to your path. If you do have to go down this route, you can Google this, and I'm sure there'll be some great tutorials, but I think it probably should be working for you. Mine has worked in the past. Let's make sure that it's working here. The first thing that you need to do is you need to open up your terminal if you're on a Linux or a Mac computer. If you're on Windows, you need to open up Command Prompt. And what you need to do is move into the folder that we just downloaded. Remember that Solana, let's see, it's called Oyster Lending Main. You need to get into this folder. So for example, mine is in my downloads. And so what I need to do is I need to say CD, which is short for change directory, meaning move to this folder. And I'm going to type the name of the folder, which in my case is capital downloads. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter. And after I've done that, I'm going to say CD, and I want to move into this Oyster folder. So I'm going to say OY. And if I hit tab, you actually can get an autocomplete here. And look, it's saying, oh, you want to move into this Oyster lending thing? It's like, yes, that's the one that I want. So I'm going to hit enter there. So to make sure that we're in the correct place here, go ahead and do an LS and hit enter. This just lists out everything that's in the current folder that you're in. So that should match what you're seeing right here. So it looks like, yep, all these things are matching up. We're in the right place. So now what we want to do to make sure that the node installation has happened correctly, just type npm and hit enter. Now, if you get all this text showing up saying, here's how to get help with npm and here's all the different commands that you can use, this is good. This means npm has been installed on your system and everything's ready to go. If it's not showing up, if your command prompt or your terminal here is saying, hey, I don't know what that is, you might need to go back and check this path thing. But assuming that it's working, what we need to do now is do an npm install, okay? So what this is doing is it's going through the entire project. And this project, anytime you're using the node package manager, you're working on some project that's relying on other people's code. And those people's code can be relying on other people's code. And you'll see here, it's just installing and downloading thousands of things here in order to make our website work. So this process can take a bit of time. So go ahead and just sit back while it happens. But again, this is getting everything that we need in order to move forward. Now that this has finished, you might find that it's saying, hey, we found that there's some vulnerabilities here and not everything's not ready up to speed. We might need to come back and do this npm audit fix, but we'll see if we can move forward. Really what we're trying to do is we want to do npm start, which is going to get our website kicked up off the ground. So we're going to do npm space start and hit enter. And let's see here, something's already running on port 3000. This must be, I have another version of this running somewhere else. So I'm just going to say yes for this. And we'll go ahead and put it, it's automatically moving to 3001. But whatever, if you were running this and I hadn't had a previous one, it should kick open a new tab on your default browser. Now, it will take a little bit of time, but eventually the web page is going to load. And in a small miracle, it looks like things are actually happening here. I'm telling you, I spent the entire day trying to get this up and running and I was not able to get it to move forward. So it's a miracle that I'm able to see the web page here live and up and running. So again, I just want to tell you here that this can take a long time. That cut I just made in the video, I waited a real 2 minutes for this to show up here. So be patient for however long it's going to take that to get up and running. So you're kind of joining me live for the first time for me seeing this, where it's actually functioning here. Let's go ahead and take a look and see if this is running on the DevNet or the mainnet. And it looks like this is running on the mainnet. So that's really cool. So this is live borrowing and lending here. So it looks like there's a couple of different assets here. So this is good. I was saying, I think you can do this with a couple of different assets. And look, USDC, Sol, and SRM. I've read a little bit about this. I believe it's Serum, which is, I think, its own DeFi thing on Solana. I'm new to Solana, so I'm not claiming to be an expert by any means there. But now that I see that this is actually working, I'm going to poke around and play with this a little bit and then come back and share what I've learned. Okay, I did a little poking around and I ran into some big issues. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows from out here, but I'll tell you what I've gleaned here. So first off is that this is code this code is pointing to the mainnet. If you hit the little settings gear here, this means this is the live version of Solana. So right now, currently, there are people who have deposited the following three assets: SRM, USDC, and Sol. And this is live. This is like real money out there right now. You can move between the different networks, like DevNet is the nice one because like this is where you can get like some free Sol just to play around with. But if we reload this page on the DevNet, you'll see that there's not actually anything there. I would love to see if I could go deposit some stuff on the DevNet. to see if it would show up there, but you'll see in a second here when we run into some issues. But back to the mainnet, it's pretty cool to see, let's go back to the home page here, that there's some assets here. And then if we go a little bit deeper here, let's click on one of these. So for example, the USDC here. The utilization, this makes me think that 37% of it is being lended out there for people. For example, here you can see, yeah, that would make sense to me. This is the total amount that's been borrowed, $258, and there's still $426 of liquidity left. And it's saying, hey, do you want to borrow some from this? Do you want to deposit into this? There's those buttons to do that. And there's more detailed pages here. Now, the interesting thing here is if we go to like Sol, for example, there's 124 Sol in there, and no one has borrowed anything against it. Same thing for this SRM, and here's what apparently the rates are for those. So it would be really fun to play with this, but in order to interact with this DApp, decentralized DApp, this website here, we have to connect a wallet. So unfortunately, the Phantom wallet does not work, but there was the other options like the Solit and whatever. Unfortunately, I don't have any actual real life Sol to go ahead and test this out. So I wanted to test things out on the DevNet. So I went and I selected the DevNet here, and I'll even just refresh the page to make sure I'm not running into anything here. And when I go ahead and hit connect, it says, hey, do we have authorization to connect here? And you say yes. I get this big nasty thing. Now this just might be something that maybe this code is only meant to be run on the mainnet perhaps. And I can just go ahead and reload this page here, and this will bring things back. I mean, I did notice if I go back to the mainnet and I connect my wallet here, okay, I'm able to like click around, and for example, this USDC, I can say, yeah, I want to borrow some money here, and I can, start to do this. But I run into an issue anytime if I want to say like, I want, like $20 or something like that. So saying, hey, you don't have anything here to be able to interact with, so it's not going to let me move forward. So I assume if you have this, that you'll be able to move forward there. Again, I know I'm not the greatest example here because I don't have the Sol. Unfortunately, it's a little bit hard to get at this point. I still think Solana is fairly early, so it's not on a ton of exchanges out there. It's definitely possible to go get it, but I don't have an exchange that offers it currently. So anyways, hopefully this has gotten you to the point where you can see, okay, I could run this locally just here on my own machine if you wanted to interact with these lending protocols. But again, I think the real magic here is if you wanted to host this and try and get a slice of the different transactions that people would be doing here, what you can do is I'm going to open up in the project here. So inside the folder, the Oyster lending main, if we go to, it's a hidden folder. So it's going to be a little bit harder to see. One way that you can do this is if you have on your terminal, I'm going to go ahead and do a Control-C here. This is how to like stop this website from running. You'll notice if I do a Control-C and then I try and refresh this page, it doesn't work anymore. If you ever want to have that happen again, you have to do the npm start. But I'm going to do an ls and then I'm going to do an ls-a. Now, I think this is different on the command prompt. I'm not exactly sure what the term is there, but what I want to do is I want to open this .env file. So I want to do open space .env. So any file that has a dot in front of it, it's what's called a hidden file. You notice when I just did a regular ls, you don't see them there, but when you do this ls-a, it shows hidden files. So there's that .env file. But when I open this up, it says, hey, what is the lend host fee address? So basically what you do is you put your public Solana address here. And when you have this and then go do an npm start, what happens is when anybody uses your website to do the borrowing and the lending stuff, you get a tiny slice of those transactions. So that's kind of the step that you would take if you wanted to go see that. Let me bring that back here. Again, just inside of the parentheses here, that's where you put your public address so that every time a little bit gets trickled back to you. Okay, So hopefully you enjoyed that. Again, sorry it kind of at the end there didn't come to anything too exciting, but hopefully with the DevNet, you'll be able to test out things. In the past tutorial, I showed you how to go get a free Sol on the DevNet to be able to test things and just see how things work. So hopefully that'll be up and running so you can test that. Hopefully someone has one of these websites more publicly available so that you can test it on your own. If not, at least you'll have this that you can be running it on your own local computer. But that's all I got for you. If you have any questions, I might be able to help you. I think probably you'll want to go look more to the Solana community for that. But thanks for coming along. If you're interested in cryptocurrency and programming, please come check me out at my website, zappycode.com. I try to make a website that's just really fun, a way to learn how to code. I have some courses here. I'll tell you a couple of my favorites. Python in a weekend. If you've never coded before, this is a great beginner point. If you want to make apps, I've got courses to make iOS apps. And then also, if you want to make your own website, these Django courses, particularly this Django 3 intro course, that's a really good one. But enough of the self-promo. Thanks for coming along. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.